the essay paper right? Okay, so broadly I will explain the idea of how the essays are being given. Then about that, okay, structurally how the essay will be broken down. At least for some of the essays we will try to do it. Okay, I will try to briefly explain the intent of this paper very clearly to people. You can see that all the 8 essay topics are philosophical topics. There is not even a single conventional essay that has been provided. All 8 of them are philosophical by nature. The second thing is, usually UPSC, apart from philosophy, it used to give very complicated themes in terms of language, in terms of, okay, so the ideas which are present, it used to be a little complicated. But this time, what is happening is the essay topics are themselves, except for the first essay on oxymorons, rest of the essays are easily understood. But understanding problem in paper also, there is no possibility for understanding issue to emerge. So there is okay, so will you get one synopsis structure that has been provided for the essay topics? I have shared it with you people. So you can go through the synopsis structure for the sake of mentorship group. So I'll invite you to share it. Okay, so now just try to understand this thing here. So when it comes to year paper on broader display, the wording of the essays is basic. Okay, the theme of the essay will be able to understand very easily. They are not very cryptic. Cryptic and hidden meaning edo unnattu. Sarvadane manaku direct ga ee topic intent enti anedi manaku clear avvadu. Except for the topic of what's the first one, oxymorons are the ironies of life and the statement icharu. Adokati koncham decode cheyadam koncham kashtam untadi. But I will pick up that essay eventually. I don't want to start with the most difficult essay. So I will come to it gradually. But first and foremost, if you look at the essay topics, even though they are very simple and easy to understand, but at the same time, generating dimensions is important to write that. Okay, the full-fledged essay is going to be the real challenge. కొంచెం కాంప్లికేటెడ్ అయిపోయి essays లాస్ట్ ఇయర్ పేపర్ లాగా కాంప్లికేటెడ్ ఉన్నప్పుడు essay ని మనం థీమ్స్ లో బ్రేక్ డౌన్ చేయడం కొంచెం ఈజీ ఉంటుంది. But here the essays are so simple that breaking them down into themes and these statements is itself the real challenge for this essay. So కాబట్టి అసలు వీటిని ఎలా బ్రేక్ డౌన్ చేయాలి, so how to address them and how to tackle them is something that we need to understand. First and foremost, I will pick up one topic of essay, sir. So in fact, in the first paper, in the first section, there are essay topics. So you will see here clearly. Paper displays. You can select, and discuss. That is better. You can select the topic you want to, then conduct a discussion. So in the first section, pick up any topic that you want to discuss, except for the first one. Third one, very good. The form is a changed but is the statement. So here, very simple. So form is a changed but is the statement. Yes. The form is a changed but is the statement. Just look at the statements. What is what else? Okay, bud signifies what? What does bud signify? Growth. And apart from that, bird signifies what, sir? Early stage. Okay, or usually the good person take bud is a symbol of promise and hope. Then it will get translated into a fruit or flower. Are you understanding this, sir? But here, the interpretation that we need to pull out is bud is a sign of promise and hope to get translated into what's that? A fruit or flower. Are you getting what I'm saying? Then at the same time, what is the meaning of a thorn, sir? Harshness. Yes. Thorn is usually associated with what's that? Harshness. Okay. So thorn is usually associated with harshness and harm. It's true or not, sir? Thorn is usually a representation of harm or harshness in life. Is usually represented by thorns. So what they are saying is any person who is harsh or harmful at some point of time he is full of promise. Are you understanding this, sir? And it is the life circumstances which converted this promise of promise of hope of God into the harshness of what's that? Are you understanding what I am saying? So it means that what's that? Circumstances converted the bird into what's that? This is the central theme that we people need to focus on. When does a bird get converted into a thorn? What are the circumstances which force people in order to become a thorn is something, the first theme that we need to explore. And if I am these statements in the regular explore. The first one is this one, the circumstances which made the bird into a thorn. Then the second one is, please try to understand this. Will the circumstances always make the bird into a thorn, sir? Will it always make the bird into a thorn? Adversity sometimes bring out the best in some people. It is not necessary that all the times the circumstances will convert the bird into thorn. This correlation is. Are you getting what I'm trying to say? Then over and above this, the third dimension that you can say is maybe so thorn was never in. Because some people by nature itself are what's that? Harsh and harmful. Circumstances are not harsh or harmful very much. While at nature and they are thorns by nature itself. Are you understanding this, sir? Then, fourth important thing is, see, the final theme that we can possibly explore is, try to understand this, how to overcome the circumstances and remaining always a bud and transition into a flower or fruit. How to overcome the circumstances? This can be one more dimension that we can possibly explore, right? Yes or no? So these are the central themes that we can possibly explore in this case. Even though seemingly the topic is very simple, so so what are they saying? So a thorn is a change. It means that so తెలుగులో మనం ట్రాన్స్లేట్ చేసుకున్న సైమన్ కొంచెం ప్రామిస్ అర్థం అవుతుంది సార్. అయితే ఇక్కడ ఈ ఫోర్ థింగ్స్ ని దీనిలో బ్రేక్ డౌన్ చేస్తే మనం ఈజీగా రాసుకోవచ్చు. అవునా కదా సార్? సో వాట్ ఇంట్రడక్షన్ కెన్ యు పాసిబిలీ గివ్ ఫర్ దిస్ సార్? ఏదైనా ఇంట్రడక్షన్ సజెస్ట్ చేయండి. వాట్ కెన్ బి ఎ గుడ్ స్టోరీ ఆఫ్ ఎ పర్సన్ హూ ఇస్ ట్రాన్సిషనింగ్ ఫ్రమ్ ఎ బడ్ టు థాట్. తప్పు భీష్ముడు పితామహుడు ఎప్పుడు కూడా థాట్ అవ్వలేదు. భీష్ముడు పితామహ వాస్ నెవర్ ఎ థాట్. హిట్లర్ వాస్ ఎ బడ్ అట్ వన్ టైం. Okay, so is corn fluent. Okay, okay. So maybe in his early years he might be so. Okay, I don't know about it, but that's not his not right. Okay, so because you can't possibly explore it on Sayadav. Fulandevi, very good. Fulandevi is a tremendously good example in order to explore this dimension. Or can you introduction on a last time on okay, so you can explore as is talked about Mahabharata, you can talk about Karna is in fact a bud. Okay, he was the eldest son of the Pandavas. He was supposed to be the ruler of what's that? The entire Kurukula. But unfortunately, the circumstances of abandonment, they converted him into what's that? A harsh person. But even converted he was also a child of promise. It's not that he was a indecent person. But the circumstances of jealousy, wherein the Pandavas are excelling at everything in comparison to him, that triggered his jealousy and that made him into a thought. Last question. Karna, he showed hope and promise in the end of his life. కాబట్టి మనం థాట్ ని కన్వర్ట్ అయ్యాడని చెప్పి అబ్సల్యూట్ గా కన్వర్ట్ చేసి చెప్పలేదు కాబట్టి దుర్యోధన క్యారెక్టర్ అయితే క్యారెక్టర్ జెలసీ కన్వర్టింగ్ ఓకే ద ప్రామిస్ ఆన్ ద బడ్ ఇంటూ ఎ థాట్ మేక్ ఎ వెరీ గుడ్ ఇంట్రడక్షన్ ఫర్ దిస్ క్వశ్చన్ మైథాలజికల్ ఇంట్రడక్షన్ ఇవ్వాలి దాని తర్వాత ద ఫస్ట్ థీసిస్ వి కెన్ ఎక్స్ప్లోర్ సార్ వాట్ సర్కమ్స్టాన్సెస్ typically convert a bud into a thought sir so earlier we explored the theme of jealousy right. Then apart from jealousy, what other circumstances will convert a thought, a bud into a thought? Failure at life, sir. Multiple number of times if you fail, then naturally what will happen is you will become a thought. For this you can give the example of Germany. Because failure in first World War made them much more harsh to Nazism and fascism, which led to the Second World War, right? Yes or no? Failure converts a bud into a thought. Then the second thing is, the third thing is absence of dignity in society. It will convert what's that? Okay, so when you okay, automatically so you will become very frustrated and you will convert from a bud to a thought. Absence of social dignity is one of the important reasons for conversion of bud into thought. For example, okay, so we have example that the Rashtra, okay, you can give the example of okay, violence, absence of recognition. Pura Devi example is funny. Absence of recognition and violence, that would be a very good example. Last one, okay, absence of opportunities also sometimes convert the bud into a thought. Can you give the example of Naxals here? Tribals, because they don't have any opportunities from the bud and promise of life, they got converted into what's that? Naxals. Very apt and clear example that you can provide here. So this way, you can explore multiple dimensions with respect to the circumstances which force a bud in order to become a thought. Are you understanding this, sir? But at the same time, okay, can we put the entire blame on circumstances? Sometimes some people, despite of very harsh circumstances, they did not convert from a bud to a thought. For example, Nelson Mandela stayed in prison for 27 years. But after coming out, did he call for violence against the white government which is present in South Africa, or did he call for peace? Peace. And he called for the establishment of a rainbow republic, which is multiracial in South Africa. That is a brilliant example for okay, circumstances rather than making a person harsh, they converting him into a more mature individual. Very beautiful example to them. Then over and above that, the second important dimension is you can write here about how circumstantial difficulties brought out the best in individuals. Can you give any other example of the same study? Circumstantial difficulties to a person know best by this study. Can you
Success of space event of the third series.
Success of
space example.
Three cultures, but Elon Musk is not a person who is a very popular person to quote at this point of time. Right? My popularity public standing and diminishing. I'm going to distant and koncham mundunna evaraina examples. So Ambedkar, very good. See, Ambedkar, despite of facing caste discrimination from very young age, his ultimate aspiration was dignity and equality with his mind. And fraternity Gani, okay, it could have Dalit dominance and demanded. What he demanded, sir? He demanded what? Caste fraternity. Maitri is his aspiration, but not the dominance of the Dalit community. This shows that he did not become a thorn, but he gained what, sir? What? Okay, a person who is a, in fact, had positive opinion about him. Yes, sir. You can give multiple other examples of such fashion. Harshness and circumstances forcing the person into this thing, but fighting the circumstances, the person coming out with a beautiful personality. APJ Abdul Kalam is a very prominent example of this.
So can you give an example of cactus plant?
Cactus plant, how?
Because it has
absence of water forces it to convert its flowers into thorn. Yes. That is biological example, that is very clear. So a flower, cactus plant from water and a money to galu, decent amount of water is there, cactus thorns will become flower. It means that nurturing level to side thorn. For example, okay, you can give the cactus example is that correlate the absence of education. That will convert what's up the bud into thorn. Okay, so there are some together with their water in the bush. You can quote that. Okay, so education's role is important. So here, okay, the circumstances, even though the circumstances are harsh, sometimes the bird will not get converted into thorn. Are you understanding this, sir? Then the next one is, okay, some people by their very nature are very harsh. That is very true, right? Okay, so can you give any example of a person who is inherently harsh, sir? He accepted violence, but his measure of violence is accepted by the society. It's legitimate violence. Okay, okay, so the persons who are inherently thorn and entrepreneurial, you can write about some people who are psychologically self-oriented towards crime. Yes or no? Okay, psychologically oriented towards crime. So, in order to circumstantial evidence is going, some people are inherently thorn and anything right. Now, the fourth dimension, I think it is a repetition of the second dimension. Rather than this fourth dimension, you can also write a dimension, the necessity to become a thorn. So fourth dimension area, sorry, okay, it's good that the bird becomes a what's that? Thorn. Why is that? Survival. Very good. Okay, sometimes it is required in order to become a thorn. Okay, so the circumstances will force in order to become a thorn, and becoming a thorn is good. Particularly, you can take the example of Mahatma Gandhi, who became a thorn to the British Empire. Bhagat Singh, who became a thorn to the British Empire. Yes, they were excessively, rather than talking about Gandhiji, you can write about S.C. Bose and Bhagat Singh. The necessity of becoming a thorn sometimes. When you are in an abusive relationship, okay, will you still think in terms of the bud getting converted into fruit and flower, or are you going to rebel against the abusive relationship, sir? Rebel against the abusive relationship. That rebellion is what's a thorn. So which means that 4 dimensions, Okoka dimension, 3-4 examples, maybe 5 examples, you can write a brilliant essay for this. Then what would be the ultimate synthesis, sir? The conclusion must do what we have to do. Is it good to become a thorn, or is it good to remain a bud or get translated into flower? Depends on situation. Okay, first and foremost, the thing is, See, the people in position of power and administration, they have the responsibility to make people from birds to flowers, but not convert them into monsters. Capability approach and education, health, harshness, life లో ఎటువంటి డిఫికల్టీ లేకుండా చిన్నపిల్లలు పెరగగలిగితే అప్పుడు ఆటోమేటిక్గా ఏం జరుగుతుందంటే సో the possibility of creation of thorns itself will disappear. Is it clear, sir? That is one thing. Then the second thing is what? Okay, but at the same time, we also need to realize that. Okay, we also need to realize that sometimes for progress and change in society, there is a requirement of birds to become thorns. సమాజంలో మనం మార్పు కావాలంటే మరి ఓకే సో ఎలా ఉండాలి ముళ్ళుల్లా కాదు మేకుల్లా ముళ్ళనే ఇది ఓకే మేకైతే ఏంటి తాను కంటే కూడా నీళ్ళు లాగా ఉండడం ఇంకా బెటర్ అని చెప్పి ఇంకా ఒక స్టెప్ ముందుకెళ్ళి ఓకే సో యూ కెన్ రైట్ see this is how you need to balance things are you getting what I'm trying to say why should we stop at thought sometimes when the circumstances are wrong we have the right to rebel for that there is a requirement of confidence is also sometimes equated to harshness. Are you understanding this, sir? So this is how you need to write this synthesis for the essay. Need not accept the given statement as it is. Then మార్చచ్చు మనం దాన్ని ఇటు అటు తిప్పచ్చు ఎన్ని డైమెన్షనల్ అనాలిసిస్ కావాలంటే ఆ డైమెన్షనల్ అనాలిసిస్ చేసుకోవచ్చు టాపిక్ సింపుల్ కానీ దాన్ని ఎక్స్ప్లోర్ చేసినప్పుడు మన మెచ్యూరిటీ అనేది మనం కమ్యూనికేట్ చేయాలి. Are you getting what I'm trying to say? So this is the case scenario. I think you'll be able to write a good enough essay on this basis. Now let us pick up one more topic for this session, sir. Okay. So let's take fourth. Okay, fourth one. Okay, sir. So what is saying when two elephants fight? It is the grass that gets trampled. Usually in case of Jammu and Kashmir, this statement is used, sir. So usually in Jammu and Kashmir case, the statement uses sir. India and Pakistan are the two elephants which are fighting, and the people of Jammu and Kashmir are being trampled by the two elephants of India and Pakistan. Okay, so this is the typical sign. I think when we go just చెప్తున్నాను ఫస్ట్ అండ్ ఫార్మోస్ట్ ఎప్పుడైనా ఎస్సే టాపిక్ వచ్చినప్పుడు even before thinking about introduction you have to first and foremost think about what are the various dimensions into which we can take. Yes or no? So the statement is clearly saying what's that when two elephants fight it is the grass that gets trampled. Okay, so first let's convert it from the literal meaning to okay so what is the social meaning of this literal meaning అంటే ఏం కొడవతే ఓకే ఏంటి ఇంత నలుగుతది అనేది మరి దానికి అసలు మనం ఏమి ఇంటర్ప్రిటేషన్ కానీ దాని సోషల్ మీనింగ్ ఏంటి అనేది మనం అబ్జర్వ్ చేద్దాం సార్ ఓకే సోషల్ మీనింగ్ ఈస్ టూ ఎలిఫెంట్స్ ఫైటింగ్ is clearly say indicating what's that and okay the second one is grass getting trampled indicates okay the suffering of innocence. Is it what sir? The social meaning of this essay is this. It means what? When two elephants fight means whenever a conflict happens, the grass gets trampled means grass is in fact innocence. And it gets trampled means what? Innocents are suffering whenever two powerful forces fight against each other. When two powerful forces fight against each other, it is the innocents who suffer is the core theme of this. Understand, sir? Now, when exploring the thesis statements for this question, tell me something. So, what kind of thesis statements? So, first and foremost, we in a statement about accept the conflict leads to suffering of the innocents. Then, apart from that, here the thesis development is itself the real challenge. What would be the other thesis development generated here? Start with conflict development, innocents suffer our own and is not having very weak grounding to it. Yes, can you say that in conflict the weak will not suffer?
Sir, what? Ukraine Russia war civilians suffer.
Correct. Example. This is a statement. Okay, statement. Example is from exploration.
Conflicts impacts
conflicts impact
Future.
on future? No.
For better.
Conflicts for better. Conflicts for better. Okay, here you need to bring in the concept of just. And just to explain this, the bias of this conflicts sometimes are progress. Not always the innocent suffer in conflict, even though the innocent suffer, but the ultimate cost of conflict is, or the outcome of conflict is progress. They are resorting to violence. Yes, the innocents are suffering, but at the same time they are fighting this war for the sake of greater good. So this is the core theme of Bhagavad Gita itself. Yes, sir. Kurukshetra Yuddhamlo ఏం జరుగుతుంది సార్? అర్జునుడు సేమ్ థింగ్ చెప్తాడు. అరే నేను ఫైట్ చేస్తే చాలా మంది దీంట్లో మంచి వాళ్ళు కూడా ఉన్నారు, కౌరవుల్లో కొంతమంది చెడ్డవాళ్ళు ఉండొచ్చు, చాలా మంది మంచి వాళ్ళు ఉన్నారు, నా అన్నదమ్ములు ఉన్నారు, ఓకే మా పెద్దనాన్న చిన్నాన్న ఉన్నారు, వీళ్ళందరూ కూడా తెచ్చిపోతారు. అయినా సరే ఓకే నేను ఎందుకు యుద్ధం చేయాలి, యుద్ధాన్ని వదిలిపెట్టి పోవాలనుకుంటూ శ్రీకృష్ణ పరమాత్మ ఏం చెప్తారు సార్? యుద్ధం ధర్మం కోసం చేయబడుతుంది, కానీ దాంట్లో ఇన్నోసెన్స్ సఫర్ అయినా మనకు ఓకే కానీ బ్యాడ్ కర్మ అనేది మనకు అంటదు అనేది ఆయన చెప్తారు. So there is a very clear-cut dimension of Bhagavad Gita itself, which is hidden in this second. Then, Inka dimensions very good. The second thesis is very conflict sometimes leading to progress. Then, what else can you write, sir? What else can you write? Is there any other thesis that you can write? Is there any conflict activation? Okay. What kind of steps need to be taken in order to help the innocent to escape from conflict environment and do not suffer? See, logical inkoka dimension man diyalakunte em cheyochu. Sometimes conflict jarinappudu what kind of measures should be taken so that the innocent might not suffer? What kind of measures need to be taken? Okay, so that the innocent might not suffer in conflict. Are you understanding this dimension, sir? And if కొన్నిసార్లు మనం ఏం చేయాలంటే కాన్ఫ్లిక్ట్ ని లిమిట్ చేసి సైంటిఫిక్ గా ప్రిసైజ్ గా చేసినప్పుడు ఆటోమేటికలీ ద సఫరింగ్ ఆఫ్ ది ఇన్నోసెన్స్ వుడ్ బి వెరీ లిమిటెడ్. ఓకే, ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ మన ఇండియన్ గవర్నమెంట్ సర్జికల్ స్ట్రైక్స్ అంటారు, లేకపోతే ఆపరేషన్ సింధూర్ అంటారు, అక్కడ మనం ఏం చేస్తున్నాము? ఇన్నోసెన్స్ యాజ్ ఫార్ యాజ్ పాసిబుల్ వి ఆర్ ట్రైయింగ్ టు అవాయిడ్ ఇన్నోసెన్స్ సఫరింగ్. How are we avoiding the innocent suffering? We are saying very clearly that our targets are highly precise and they are only targeting that is innocent. Are you understanding this, sir? So this is one dimension that you can possibly explore. Inka you want to know, sir? What other dimension you can explore? So first and foremost, we said that in conflict invariably the innocents are going to suffer. Second one is we are saying that even though the innocents might suffer, conflict is justified because it leads to progress. The third dimension that we are talking about is what conflict sometimes, what measures need to be taken in order to reduce the conflict to a situation where the innocents will not suffer. Okay, but at the same time, one dimension that you can innovatively think and bring about is, first and foremost, is it possible for us in order to completely avoid conflict in itself? Why should the elephant fight in first place? They did not always fight, right? So conflict lekapothe innocent suffering anedi jaragadu kada, mari conflict leni burden మనం create cheyacha ani oka dimension explore cheyochu. చూడండి, ఈ ఫోర్ థీసిస్ స్టేట్మెంట్స్ మీరు ప్రాపర్ గా ఎక్స్ప్లోర్ చేస్తే automatically what will happen is the essay will be opened up very properly and your mind also will be understandable to the exam. మీరు ఎట్లా ఆలోచిస్తున్నారు? కాన్ఫ్లిక్ట్ ఉంది, సఫరింగ్, కానీ సఫరింగ్ కూడా కొన్నిసార్లు మంచిదే, ప్రోగ్రెస్ ఉంది. దాంతో పాటు ఇంకోటి ఏంటి? కాన్ఫ్లిక్ట్ లో సఫరింగ్ ని మినిమైజ్ చేయడానికి మనం ఏం చేయొచ్చు? అదే విధంగా అసలు కాన్ఫ్లిక్ట్ అవాయిడ్ చేస్తే అసలు సమస్య లేదు కదా, అంటే మరి ఎవరికి ప్రాబ్లం రాదు కదా అని చెప్పి మనం ఇంకోటి ఎక్స్ప్లోర్ చేస్తాం. These are the four central themes that you can possibly explore in this list. Are you understanding this part? Yes or no? So you can talk about that. So can you give any example of conflict where the innocents suffer and what is the outcome of that conflict? divorce cases. Okay. Very okay. So it's literally taken a little aback, but it is a very important social phenomenon. Very important social phenomenon. Conflict between husband and wife and the children becoming the sufferers of conflict. So such a beautiful dimension. You can explore it in the introduction. But usually in a day introduction though, right stark realities of society manu display istu manu chala beautiful introduction right. For example, a court proceeding is present where the husband and wife are making accusations and counter accusations. Typically like the fighting infants, but in between an innocent kid stands and looks to both his parents, unable to understand what is going to be his future. Yeah, anecdotal introduction is there. Brahmanam గురించి సార్. కానీ నేను ఒకటి చెప్తాను. ఎస్సే మొత్తం ఏంటంటే ఏం రాయాలనేది చాలా మంది కానీ ఎలా రాయాలనేది ఎగ్జిబిషన్ చేసినప్పుడు ప్రాబ్లం వస్తుంది. ఒకరు చెప్పినట్టు ఇంకొకరు చెప్పలేరు, చేయలేరు, చేయలేరు. కానీ మనకు what we are trying to essentially explore in the essay session here is what is the structural engineering part of it. Decorative part of the essay you can gain only by writing. Are you understanding this, sir? Structural part is explain here. Engineering ka so illa manaku broad structure ela undali, byna output ela undali, ఏ levels undali ఇప్పుడు నేను explain. కానీ అక్కడ పెట్టే examples కానీ దాని present చేసే mechanism కానీ నీకు చెప్పు. So you told divorce, I created a court scene. I did not even over elaborate it. I put it very crisp. మనకు కోర్టులో ఇక్కడ ఫైట్ చేస్తున్నారు. Innocent child is looking up, unable to understand what is going to be his future. The typical example of a trampled grass in the pain on process టే అసలు చాలా క్రిస్ప్ గా బ్యూటిఫుల్ గా ఎక్స్ప్రెషన్. కానీ కొంతమంది ఏం చేస్తారంటే ఆ కోర్టు సీన్ మొత్తం క్రియేట్ చేయాలని చేస్తారు. Anecdotes రాసినప్పుడు ఎప్పుడైనా కూడా crispness is very right. That is the reason why I typically tend to avoid this anecdotal introduction. అంటే చాలా మంది చెప్పాలి. ఎందుకు చెప్పాలంటే ఎగ్జిబిషన్ లో చాలా మంది దారుణమైన మిస్టేక్ చేస్తున్నారు. అది అంటే వెరీ improper introduction they are giving. That's the reason why I'm not going to talk about it. But you can give an example with respect to innocent suffering conflict. The prominent historical example is Usyatam and Kavadiguda. Innocent suffering, lakhs of people dying, the Nagar river flowing with blood. All of these things are innocent suffering. It ultimately led to the inner transformation of Ashoka, which converted him from Chanda Ashoka to Ramashoka. Like
The
partition of India and Pakistan, innocent suffering. Multiple examples are the conflicts, innocent suffering ki asalu examples kodare. ఏ కాన్ఫ్లిక్ట్ అయినా ఇన్ఎవిటబుల్ గా ఎవరు సఫర్ అవుతారు సార్ అల్టిమేట్ గా? yes, the general public are going to suffer, the innocents are going to suffer, the people who did not contribute to the circumstance they are going to be the sufferers. Partition రాసుకోవచ్చు లేకపోతే ఇంకా you can write the example of conflict leading to the death of innocents and suffering for the innocents అసలు రాసుకోవచ్చు. లేకపోతే it's a జలియన్ వాలా innocent suffering. Yes, women and children dying. Jallianwala Bagh, right? Kani, this sister, right? Where is school?
Lawlessness in Africa,
anarchy. International relations are asked. For example, conflicts leading to. So this kind of suffering of innocents, you can give in terms of economic suffering of the people who invested in stock markets. Whenever two countries fight, లేకపోతే two countries మధ్య ఎప్పుడైనా ట్రేడ్ వార్ జరిగినా సరే స్టాక్ మార్కెట్ క్రాష్ అయితే మరి ఎవరు సఫర్ అయ్యి ఇన్ఎవిటబుల్లీ ది ఇన్నోసెంట్ సివిలియన్స్ హూ ఆర్ నాట్ అటాచ్డ్ టు the conflict in beginning first
options and derivatives.
సో ఏదో మీరు అది ఎట్లా మీరు ఎగ్జిక్యూట్ చేస్తారని మీ డిస్కషన్. సో అలా ఎకనామిక్ డైమెన్షన్ కూడా దీంట్లో మీరు చూడాలి కంప్లీట్ గా. ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ నేను చిన్న ఎగ్జాంపుల్, టెర్రరిజం రిలేటెడ్ కేసెస్ లో చాలా మంది ఇన్నోసెంట్స్ కూడా UAPA చట్టంలో అరెస్ట్ చేస్తారు. That is a clear-cut example. Low conviction rate of UAPA Act is clearly conflict leading to what's that? Innocent suffering. UPA Act you can write. Yes or no? Yes. Then over and above this, the next dimension is what's that? Conflict sometimes leads to progress. You can explain it in terms of Mahabharata itself. Despite the innocent suffering, sometimes it might lead to progress. జస్ట్ వాట్ అనేది ఏది అంటే ఒక ధర్మ యుద్ధాన్ని మనం ఎట్లా డిఫైన్ చేయాలి ఇన్నోసెంట్ సఫరింగ్ ని మినిమైజ్ చేసి ఓకే బెనిఫిట్ ని మాక్సిమైజ్ చేసే దాన్ని మనం జస్ట్ వాట్ ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ సెకండ్ వరల్డ్ వార్ ఈస్ ఏ క్లాసిక్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ ఆఫ్ ది జస్ట్ Indian fight to liberate Bangladesh in 1971 is a classic example of the war leading to progress rather than the innocent suffering. Innocent suffering triggered the conflict and ultimately it led to the creation of a new country that is Bangladesh. You can write an example. చూడండి కానీ కొంచెం డైవర్సిఫైడ్ గా ఆలోచించాలి సార్ మళ్ళీ మళ్ళీ చెప్తున్నాను ఇక
పొలిటికల్ పార్టీస్ పబ్లిక్ ఇన్ఫ్రాస్ట్రక్చర్ డెవలప్మెంట్ చాలా డిలే అవుతుంది
public infrastructure delay అవుతుంది ఆసుకోవచ్చు ఓకే పాలసీ priorities of two governments might be different because of this reason okay ultimately the general public are going to suffer ఇది కూడా ఆసుకోవచ్చు మీ ఇష్టం సార్ నేను మళ్ళీ చెప్తున్నాను దాని పాటు థర్డ్ డైమెన్షన్ చూడండి కాన్ఫ్లిక్ట్ ని ఎలా మనం మినిమైజ్ చేయాలి సో దట్ దేర్ విల్ బి లెస్ సఫరింగ్ ఆఫ్ వాట్స్ ఇన్నోసెన్స్ ఇన్నోసెన్స్ లెస్ సఫరింగ్ ఉండాలంటే మనం కాన్ఫ్లిక్ట్ ని ఎలా మేనేజ్ చేయాలి
కన్సెన్సస్ బిల్డింగ్ మెకానిజమ్స్
కాన్ఫ్లిక్ట్ ని మినిమైజ్ చేయడం కాదు కాన్ఫ్లిక్ట్స్ లో ఇన్నోసెన్స్ సఫరింగ్ ని మనం మినిమైజ్ చేయాలి టెక్నాలజీ ప్రొవైడ్స్ us a mechanism in order to do it yes sir for example operations indoor guided missiles కానీ లేకపోతే drones కానీ okay UAVs కానీ ఇవి ఏం చేస్తాయి సార్ precise targeting of the enemy without adversely affecting the rest of the population that we can consider as a mechanism yes sir okay
tunnels in Israel war tunnels in Israel war
tunnels in Israel war for the Gaza Strip people in order to escape to Egypt yes sir in order to avoid the conflict that also
cycle of development virtual cycle of development Naxal scheme state
okay so that is also one thing that you can write virtual cycle of development so Naxalism అసలు రావాలని బానే రాకుండా ముందుగానే మనం ఎలాంటి స్టెప్స్ తీసుకోవచ్చు సో కాన్ఫ్లిక్ట్ ఎట్లా అవాయిడ్ చేయొచ్చు కానీ అది ఫోర్త్ డైమెన్షన్ చాలా ఎగ్జాంపుల్స్ ఇవ్వండి సార్ ఫోర్త్ డైమెన్షన్ లో అసలు కాన్ఫ్లిక్ట్ లేని వరల్డ్ గురించి రాసినప్పుడు యూ కెన్ సే దట్ కాన్ఫ్లిక్ట్ ఓకే ఈస్ ఆఫ్ టూ టైప్స్ one is conflict which leads to violence one is conflict which leads to okay progress without violence conflict which is progressive is very good conflict without violence is necessary for the society but wherever violence happens okay usually we have to avoid those kind of conflicts democracy and equity other than we easily explore the write a very good essay on the issue of this clear so two topics are done now let us pick up the third topic sir what other topic second one seven okay seven Shaving hard decisions is the least ethical course. Okay, so simple. Here also we need to first and foremost understand the meaning of the statement. Okay, shaving hard decisions is the least ethical process. What did I say? Ethical course. Yes, sir. Shaving hard decisions is the least ethical course in the statement has been made. Now, what is the meaning of shelving hard decisions, sir? Avoid. Okay, very simple meaning is avoiding of the tough decisions. Okay, avoiding of the tough decisions is the least ethical course means is outrightly what sir?
allow this like least ethical and unethical ni
మనం ఖచ్చితంగా ఇది పెట్టచ్చు least ethical is outrightly what maybe okay I'm sorry to say it least ethical అన్నప్పుడు least ethical and unethical
easy way to escape out ani
escape out అనేది least ethical way
easy way to
see but if you again break it down whether least ethical అంటే గ్రేడేషన్స్ డిఫరెంట్ పెట్టుకుంటే ఎస్ఏ రాసుకుంటూ గ్రేడ్స్ లో ఒక టర్మ్ చూసాం అనుకున్నాము ఆటోమేటిక్గా ఎస్ఏ కాంప్లికేట్ అవుతుంది యు టేక్ ఆర్ యు కన్స్ట్రక్ట్ ద ఎస్ఏ యు కన్స్ట్రక్ట్ ఆన్ పోలార్ ఆపోజిట్స్ అంటే ఏంటి ఏదైనా సరే ఆ స్టేట్మెంట్ ఒక క్లియర్ మీనింగ్ చెప్తే దాన్ని మనం ఎక్స్ప్లోర్ చేయడానికి పాసిబిలిటీ అలా కాకుండా లీస్ట్ ఎథికల్ అన్నప్పుడు ఇట్ ఈస్ పార్ట్లీ ఎథికల్ పార్ట్లీ అనెథికల్ అంటున్నాం అనుకోండి. ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ మనం అక్కడ ఇంటర్ప్రిట్ చేస్తే ఇస్సే ఎగ్జిక్యూట్ చేయడం ప్రాబ్లమ్స్ స్ప్లిట్స్ వస్తాయి. ఎప్పుడైనా సరే గుర్తుపెట్టుకోండి సార్, ఆ ఇచ్చిన టర్మ్ లో ఏ సైడ్ అయితే ఆ స్టేట్మెంట్ ఉందో ఆ వాల్యూని మీరు తీసేసుకుంటారు. అంతే కదా. లీస్ట్ ఎథికల్ అంటే ఎథికల్ అయి ఉండొచ్చు, అనెథికల్ అయి ఉండొచ్చు. మేబీ ఇట్ ఈస్ లైక్ లో లెవెల్ priority and మనం అనుకుంటే మన ప్రాబ్లమ్ వస్తుంది సార్. ఇట్స్ బెటర్ టు కన్సిడర్ లీస్ట్ అనెథికల్ టు బి ఆర్ లీస్ట్ ఎథికల్ టు బి అనెథికల్. ఇస్ క్లియర్ సార్? లీస్ట్ అనెథికల్ టు లీస్ట్ ఎథికల్ టు బి అనెథికల్ ఇస్ కరెక్ట్ సార్. నేను మళ్ళీ కూడా చెప్తాను కాబట్టి బట్ దిస్ ఈస్ వేర్ అవర్ జడ్జ్మెంట్ నీడ్స్ టు బి వెరీ క్లియర్. ఎందుకు చెప్తున్నానంటే మనం ఎప్పుడైనా ఇచ్చిన స్టేట్మెంట్ ఏ స్ప్లిట్ చేసామనుకుంటే ఇస్తే మొత్తం వెళ్ళిపోతుంది. ఏ స్ప్లిట్ మాత్రం చేయొద్దు. అక్కడ మనకు క్లియర్ గా ఏం కనిపిస్తుందో దానికి ఆ వాల్యూ జడ్జ్మెంట్ మనం యాక్సెప్ట్ చేస్తాం. సో హియర్ దే ఆర్ సేయింగ్ అవాయిడింగ్ ఆఫ్ డెసిషన్స్ లీడ్స్ టు అనెథికల్ యాక్షన్ ఆర్ అనెథికల్ కోర్స్ ఆఫ్ యాక్షన్. ఇస్ ఇట్ క్లియర్ సార్? నౌ ద natural question is going to be why do we avoid tough decisions? Yes sir, avoiding tough decisions leads to unethical action. Here rather than doing any example based exploration, you can raise a very simple question with respect to why do we avoid tough decisions. Okay, sometimes because of fear, sometimes because of lack of courage, sometimes because we might seek pleasure over pain. Yes sir. So in the multiple reasons valla manam okasari em chestam tough decisions ni select cheskoni okay unethical course of action we usually take. But at the same time, please listen carefully sir. ఇది ఫస్ట్ థీసిస్ ని ఎగ్జాంపుల్స్ తో మీరు ఈజీ ఎక్స్ప్లోర్ చేయొచ్చు. కానీ వాట్ వుడ్ బి ది కౌంటర్ థీసిస్ ఫర్ దిస్ కౌంటర్ థీసిస్ ఆర్ ఆల్టర్నేటివ్ థీసిస్ ఫర్ దిస్? Is it not difficult to derive the alternative thesis in this statement? What is the alternative thesis? ఏమై ఉండొచ్చు? మామూలుగా అయితే okay sometimes avoiding tough decisions
isn't always
is okay sometimes considered as what sir? Sometimes avoiding tough decisions itself is what sir? Ethical action. This is one dimension that you can explore. Yes or no sir? Why do we avoid first dimension? Second dimension is with respect to sometimes avoiding tough decisions might lead to ethical action or it might become ethical action. Can you give any example of this? Avoiding tough decisions leading to okay ethical course of action.
inspections by Bakaram.
Yes sir.
Doctor patient.
Doctor patient relations. Okay. Avoiding tough decisions in ethical and a classic example, very short example. Yes sir. Basically, yes, tough decision is what sir? To kill the person basically. But it might not always be or sometimes can be ethical. Avoiding tough decisions is ethical అనేది మనం చెప్తున్నాం. అంటే కరెక్టే కదా? వితరీష అనేది ఏంటి? tough decision. You are calling or you are making a call for withdrawal of what the life support system. That is a tough decision. That is a tough decision and avoiding the decision is ethical because you are not killing a person. Yes sir. Avoiding tough decision is ethical. Let's suppose death penalty is. If you avoid the decision of killing a person through death penalty, it will lead to the survival of the person and maybe in future it might reform. The person who is present on his deathbed, if you show compassion and don't take a hard decision, there is a possibility in future that medicine might improve and the person will come back to life. Avoiding tough decisions is sometimes ethical. Okay, avoiding tough decisions requires sometimes patience also. Yes sir. Okay, so what happens? Let's suppose okay, Pakistan has been traditionally it has always pestered us. Okay, మనకి ఇప్పుడు కూడా ఇబ్బందులు పెట్టడం మనకు అలవాటు. కానీ మనం యుద్ధం చేద్దాం పాకిస్తాన్ తో ప్రతిసారి మనం యుద్ధానికి బయలుదేరాం. We avoid the tough path of fighting a war. Why? Primarily because war might lead to more suffering. That is the reason why sometimes avoiding the tough decision itself is difficult. Avoiding the tough decision unethical. Avoiding the tough decision is also ethical sometimes. Understand, sir? Then one more thing is, okay, so what makes a decision tough or easy, sir? Consequences, sir. Consequences make, okay, the decision either tough or easy. Are you understanding this? So, but that cannot be a complete decision in itself. కానీ రెండు డైమెన్షన్లు అయితే క్లియర్ కదా, మరి ఇంకా థర్డ్ డైమెన్షన్ ఏంటి సార్? నాకు ఎగ్జాంపుల్స్ వద్దు, డైమెన్షన్. What is the opposite value of tough? Opposite word. Typical opposite word. Simple and easy, right? Easy decisions sometimes, okay, or easy decisions avoiding tough decisions. Okay, conducting tough decisions. Yes. There are two words that is creating confusion. Please try to understand. చిన్న చార్ట్ ఇస్తాను మీకు. Okay, so ఇలాంటి మీకు ఇబ్బంది కాకుండా ఎప్పుడైనా సరే టూ వాల్యూస్ అనేవి కాంప్లీట్ వచ్చాయి. You draw a simple chart of this. Yes, sir. Okay, permutation combination. A permutation combination is angel, sir. First one, okay. So what's the value in the avoiding? What's that? Tough decisions. Okay. So here you can write one value. Okay, avoiding tough decisions. Then another will see taking tough decisions. Yes, sir. Here one is unethical, one is what's that? ఇంతకంటే డైమెన్షన్స్ రావడానికి పాసిబిలిటీ లేదు ఉందా? ఇంకేముంటుంది? ఓకే, సో కంప్యూటేషన్స్ ఎందుకు తీసుకోవడం కష్టం ఉంది? ఓకే, ఇట్లాంటి డైమెన్షన్స్ ఏమైనా ఉంటాయి కానీ లేకపోతే ఈ 4 డైమెన్షన్స్ ఉంటాయి. Yes, sir. Here now avoiding conditions unethical, avoiding tough decisions ethical. Now taking tough decisions, why it is sometimes unethical? Okay, but most of the times what will happen is these two will be very similar. మరి ఇంకొకసారి ఏంటి? టేకింగ్ టఫ్ డెసిషన్స్ ఇస్ సమ్టైమ్స్ వాట్స్ ethical. ఓకే, ఈ 4 థీమ్స్ ని ప్రాపర్గా ఎక్స్ప్లోర్ చేస్తే ఈ ఎస్సే అనేది అబ్సల్యూట్లీ బికమ్ ఎ వెరీ గుడ్ ఎస్సే. కానీ స్ట్రక్చరల్ గా మీరు ఇంప్లిమెంట్ చేస్తున్నారు, ఇట్లా ఫ్లో ఉంటుంది అనేది మీరు టెస్ట్ చేసుకోవాలి సార్. సో దిస్ ఇస్ ద కేస్ సినారియో. ఐ థింక్ దిస్ ఎస్సే డిస్కషన్ ఈస్ క్లియర్. Yes, sir. Will you be able to do it, sir? Yes. Now pick up one more topic, sir. Pick up the toughest topic. It's an oxymoron because you want me to wind up the class. Okay, that is the reason why sir. 8th question. ఒకసారి ఇది చూద్దాం. ఓకే, ఎందుకంటే ఇది కొంచెం ఛాలెంజ్ ఉంటుంది కదా, మన ఆన్సర్ తప్పు ఎవరు రాసు. ఓకే, వాట్ ఇస్ ద మీనింగ్ ఆఫ్ ఆక్సిమోరాన్, sir? Two opposite words, whenever you integrate them, then it is called as oxymoron. Unity in diversity. Okay, continuity with change. Okay, so then apart from that, two opposite values when you combine, there will be, okay, so it's take, okay, alone together. Alone together is what, sir? You will be in a group, but psychologically you will be what, sir? Alone. Social media, age group people is the main problem. You are connected with thousands of followers on friends with each other. కానీ కస్టమర్ ఎవరితో మాట్లాడడం చర్చించుకోవడం ఒకరు, ఎందుకంటే ఆన్లైన్ ఫ్రెండ్స్ ఫ్రెండ్స్ డిఫరెన్స్ పెట్టారు. సో హియర్ ద థింగ్ ఈస్ అలోన్ టుగెదర్ ఇస్ వన్. దెన్ వన్ మోర్ థింగ్ ఈస్, సి యూజువల్లీ ఈ ఆక్సిమోరాన్స్ అన్ని కూడా డబుల్ స్పీక్ అనే కాన్సెప్ట్. డబుల్ స్పీక్ అంటే మీనింగ్ ఏంటి? రెండు ఆపోజిట్ వర్డ్స్ ని కలిపి మనం కమ్యూనికేట్ చేస్తే దానికి యూజువల్గా డబుల్ స్పీక్ అంటారు. డబుల్ స్పీక్ మీన్స్ వాట్? పీస్ఫుల్ వార్. Peaceful war. It means that you are fighting war, but you are saying that this war is not, sir, peaceful war. Limited freedom. What is limited freedom? Okay, you are saying that you are going to give freedom, but at the same time you are saying that this is also what, sir? Limited freedom. Harsh. Okay, harsh peace. Failure as success, but that is not a oxymoron. And a bitter reality, sir. Bitter. The classic example of oxymoron is bitter. So it means what? It is a mixed emotion. It's both bitter on one side and sweet on the other. Bitter sweet emotion. Then one more example of an oxymoron. Can you tell any other? Which one? Act action. Yes, very good. Act action. Okay, action ఉండడమే యాక్టివ్ లేదు. మళ్ళీ act action అనేది ఏంటి? Okay, that is also an oxymoron. Deafening silence is an oxymoron. How can silence be deafening? Already, okay, silence is silence, but they are saying deafening silence. So ఇక్కడ మనకు oxymorons ఇంగ్లీష్ లాంగ్వేజ్ లో చాలా ఉంటాయి. కానీ ఈ ఎస్సే మాక్సిమం అవాయిడ్ చేయాలి. ఎందుకంటే ఇక్కడ మీకు క్లియర్ అవ్వాలంటే the statement is saying what are oxymorons reflect the ironies of life. అంటే ఈ కాంట్రాడిక్టరీ స్టేట్మెంట్స్ ఏవైతే ఉన్నాయో దాంట్లోనే ఐరనీస్ ఆఫ్ లైఫ్ ఉన్నాయి. ఓకే, ఇట్స్ వెరీ సింపుల్ టాపిక్. ఆక్సిమోరాన్స్, వాట్స్ దట్? Oxymorons reflect ironies of life. Ironies of life. What is the meaning of ironies?
Two opposite.
Irony is not two opposite.
Saying
Irony
one
is
thing and
what?
doing one thing.
Huh?
Saying one thing.
Correct is that? It is correct. Contradictions. Okay. Irony means what, sir? Irony means something which is an unavoidable truth. Are you understanding this? Irony is nothing but it is an unavoidable truth. You want to avoid this truth. You don't want to know about it, but you cannot hide from it. Then it is what as irony. Are you understanding this, sir? Very simple. Irony being a being, irony itself is nothing but it is an unavoidable truth about life. That too, irony అనేది usually negative connotation ఉంటుంది. Unavoidable truth that you cannot escape. Are you understanding this, sir? For example, one of the ironies of life is death. Death is the biggest irony of life. Yes or no? Is it true or not, sir? Okay, death is an unavoidable truth about life. And is there any irony on death, sir? Okay, oxymoron is the death mean? Think about it. Peaceful. Okay, very good. But ఇంకా better than natural death. Natural death. Okay, natural death is not oxymoron. It is true. But peaceful death is an oxymoron. Because without struggle, nothing dies. Struggle is inevitable part, but you are saying that peaceful death అనేది important. దాంతో పాటు okay, so there is also one death which is called as courageous death. వీరమరణం. Okay, so brave death. Okay, brave death అనేది ఒక ఆక్సిమోరాన్ మనం తీసుకోవచ్చు. Because usually most of the times it is observed that people at the time of death are fearful and afraid. That is an oxymoron. Death is one irony of life. Then apart from death, is there any other irony of life, sir? Age is one irony of life. Very good. Time is an irony of life. Very good. Unavoidable truth. Okay? Kani, Eassay, maximum avoidable truth. ఎందుకంటే దీన్ని ఎగ్జిక్యూట్ చేయాలంటే అది ఎక్స్పర్ట్ హ్యాండ్స్ లోనే అది కుదురుతుంది. లేకపోతే ఓకే చిన్నపిల్లల ఆటలు ఆడడానికి తెలుసుకున్నట్టు మిగతా వాటిలో అయితే చార్ట్ వేసుకుని ఓకే అది చేసి ఏదో ఒకటి చేసుకొని ఎగ్జిక్యూట్ చేసి కానీ దిస్ ఇస్ టఫ్ టు ఎగ్జిక్యూట్. Okay, because of this reason, my suggestion is why okay knowingly take a hard essay which is very difficult to like execute. So it's not very good. Think I want to ask any other direction? Okay, so Shani, I don't want to because this essay I can discuss. Okay, but the problem is it's going to unnecessarily take you down the wrong road. Okay, చేయొచ్చు మనం కూడా అనే ఒక ఒపీనియన్ వస్తుంది. అప్పుడు మళ్ళీ ఇబ్బంది పడతారు. కాబట్టి అవసరం.
Explain the
taking challenges in life.
Yes, sir.
challenging కావాలి సార్. అంటే మీరు explain చేస్తే tackle చేయాలి.
సరే సార్ మీరు అంటారు కదా నేను చెప్తాను. ఓకే oxymorons explaining the unavoidable truths of life is the first thesis. Okay, now the second thesis is what we can say. Okay, so let's suppose put it this way. Oxymorons explaining the unavoidable truths is the first explanation. But sometimes the oxymorons are themselves what's that? It's It's not that okay, they will always guide you towards what's the truth. Sometimes they are absolutely meaningless, and sometimes the oxymorons are also okay. What's that? It's not just about unavoidable truth, but oxymorons in fact promote what's that? Solidarity. Unity in diversity. Is it not an oxymoron, but is it an irony or is it promoting solidarity? Promoting solidarity. Are you understanding this, sir? Prati oxymoron anedi, okay, manaku it doesn't lead to the unavoidable. Are you understanding this? Sometimes the oxymorons are meaningless, they are absurd. They don't have meaning. Defining silence even meaning or irony. Nothing. Okay, so this way you can explore three possible dimensions. Are you understanding this, sir? So this is the case scenario, and at the same time, you can also state one more dimension that there is no requirement of oxymoron in order to understand the mechanism of life. Oxymoron combining. Okay, so if you have clear vision, you will be able to see the truth for ourselves. There is no need for the creation of or crutch of this oxymoron. Support ourselves. Okay, unavoidable truth and ironies of life sometimes it becomes so clear that there is no need for any oxymoron in order to understand. So you can explore the truth. Okay, there is tendency with obvious. Okay, they choose to work on it. Okay, so that is the reason why I don't want people to get into this sense. Okay, so because sometimes the essay topics that they give up, they require old wisdom. Old wisdom అంటే చాలా మెచ్యూరిటీ కావాలి, ఏజ్ కావాలి. మరి ఇచ్చేదేమో ఒక ఎవరు ఇస్తారు బాబు మొత్తం అసలు మైండ్ లో తిరిగేదే సోషల్ మీడియా రీల్స్. ఓకే, సో తిరిగేదే సోషల్ మీడియా రీల్స్ రాయాల్సిన ఇచ్చేదేమో ఎక్కడ ఉన్నాయి, ఎక్కడో మౌంట్ ఎవరెస్ట్ ఉంది. ఓకే, సో ఇబ్బంది పడతారు అలాంటి టచ్ చేస్తారు. అందుకే నేను చెప్తున్నాను పర్సన్ కి డెప్త్ ఉండడం అందుకంటే చాలా ఇంపార్టెంట్. కానీ at the same time in this examination if you keep digging okay for the sake of depth what will happen is it will become an oxymoron. Understanding this you will experience the irony of life. So that is the reason why you have to dig, but okay you have to dig only the necessary. Alright sir, so many of you are looking sir 7:30 or schedule sir. Okay, so time cross everything. Okay, so 4 essays we have discussed. Okay, later on sir పొద్దున్నే చూస్తున్నాను సార్. Okay, what irony of life we experience today in the morning tea is majority of the boys disappeared. Okay, so that is okay, so one oxymoron and irony of life, boys disappearing for the sake of Varashwara. Our example last week. అమ్మాయిలు డిసప్పేర్ అవ్వడం లేక అబ్బాయిలు ఓకే మరి దేనికోసం లోన్ వస్తున్నారు. సో ఐ థింక్ we got this right. Yes, so I don't want further prolong here. Okay, so that's right answer. So 4 pieces I have discussed and if need be okay, so ఇంకా మనకు రేపు ఎల్లుండి పేపర్ తర్వాత 5 days gap ఉంది. ఆ 5 days gap లో I call for one more session. Okay, and rest of the 4 pieces also we can discuss in about hours. Because all 8 essays for the same day is not very good. So 4 essays we have discussed today. Rest of 4 we are going to conduct in session 2 and in session 2 we are going to conduct. Yes sir, alright. So on this note, mind sir, good day.